Hello, everyone. Welcome in for your next episode of Beyond the Prescription. We're talking about helping everyday people navigate less medication and better health in their life. And tonight, we're here with Miss Karen Davis.
Hi.
She she is an absolutely just incredible person who's had an amazing health journey. So, without doing all the talking for you, could you tell us just a little bit, Karen, about the struggles that you've had in your health over the last few decades?
Yes, my story is pretty similar to what I think most people can relate to or have had someone in their lives that can relate to what I've been through. But for more than 10 years, I've been a cancer patient and I've been in and out of remission. I've taken lots of treatment to get better and to fight through this. And you know, the road has been a very long and hard emotional road. Um, Through all of that, I worked a full time corporate job and I worked a lot of hours. And when I say a lot of hours, I was not a 40-hour work week person. I was not even a 50-hour work week person. I worked
Mhm.
55 and 60, 70 hours a week. Um,
Wow.
and I look back on that and I think, how did I ever do that? But one of the biggest challenges of all the sickness is the side effects that came along with all of that. And
Hmm.
I dealt with neuropathy and fought neuropathy for more than 10 years.
For
And
10 years.
for 10 years. And, I can really not ever talk about it without crying because, you know, if you've ever had neuropathy, it impacts your hands and your feet. And when you're wearing dress shoes to work every day, I mean, and most of that time I was walking and standing on concrete.
Hmm.
I worked a very fast pace, um, hard working type position to where it was nonstop. I mean, everything was based off of timings, and you had to hit the timings, and which meant you didn't take time to eat, you didn't take time to rest, you didn't take time to even make it to the restroom. I mean, you never had the time to really manage the pain that I was dealing with. And neuropathy was so bad it turned into restless leg syndrome. And, I told the story many times that it would be so bad that I'd wake up the next morning and my legs would be raw because I'd rubbed my legs together so violently, I guess in my
Oh,
sleep,
wow.
trying to get some sort of relief from that. And, you know, through all of this, what made the situation worse is that I turned to food to try to help me solve all of these problems. Because when you're sick a lot and you're dealing with neuropathy and treatments and medication, the nausea is almost more than what you can stand. And I figured out if I fed the nausea, it would calm down just for a few minutes, right? So then I'd
Hmm.
grab some quick something that was just putting trash into my body, thinking, oh, this is going to put out this pain and nausea fire, when all
Yep.
it did was turn it into the disaster that I became at my highest weight of 259 pounds. And, I learned that I was an emotional eater. I learned about food addiction. And I learned that I was just absolutely treating my body like a garbage disposal. And a garbage disposal that probably, was doing more harm than good. And
Yeah.
I was just really letting life be too busy to do something about it. And it's very difficult to admit when you've put your body through such abuse. And I at my absolute highest weight, I remember getting on the scale that last morning, and my husband was getting on the scale right behind me, and he said out loud what his weight was.
Hmm.
Uh, I weigh, my husband is 6 foot tall and he was overweight, and I weigh within just a few pounds of what my husband does, and me 5'3". And I'm like, what am I done to myself here? What has happened to me? I mean, I looked in the mirror and I didn't even recognize the person that I was.
And it's a slow process, right? Like over
Yeah.
time, between the neuropathy pain, and for those people out there who don't know a lot about neuropathy, what symptoms did you have? Like the numbness, hot and cold, tingling,
Yeah.
basically sensations in your feet and hands all the time?
What really doesn't make any sense about neuropathy is it's numbness in your hands and your feet. And you think to yourself, well, if you're numb, how do you have pain? Well,
Hmm.
that's a great question. That's the question I always wanted some doctor to tell me the answer to. But their answer, which I get it, they were just trying to help me, is just write me another prescription. And I'm like, none of this is helping me. None of it. All it is making me have
Yeah.
constipation issues. It's making me feel like I'm just sluggish all the time. I mean, I was having vision loss from it. I even at one point had hearing loss from a medication they put me on. I'm like, I cannot, like, none of this is helping me. And at no point did anybody ever say, probably at this 250 plus pounds that you're at, you probably should do something about your weight. You know, no one ever said you're dealing with an inflammation problem. But I just, looking back on that, I'm just like, for 10 years, don't you think that somebody could have at some point said to me,
Yeah.
like, this is what I would do if I were you? You
Yeah.
know, and that's why I really want to talk about, you know, my challenges and everything that I've learned through this process, because that was an absolute nightmare for me and for my husband, to be honest. You know, so many times I just feel like I need to wake up every day and apologize and say, I'm sorry for what I put you through, you know, which
Wow.
he would never feel that way. But I mean, because we're our own biggest critics, aren't we?
Of course. Yeah. And you didn't realize that, okay, like you realized you had a weight issue and a pain
Mm-hmm.
issue,
Sure.
and you didn't realize that it was all stemming from the same root cause, which
Right.
actually was something that you could put in remission, something that you could get rid of.
Yeah.
And every
And
time you go to the doctor, they say, here's another band aid, and here's another band aid, and here's another band aid. But even those weren't working for you.
no, they weren't. In 2023, I'm going to say was my absolute worst year, going into probably all of 2023 and going into 2024. And they tried me on 9 different drugs in 16 months to try to help me with neuropathy pain and restless leg syndrome.
Oh my
And
goodness.
I, until you've made all those trips to the pharmacy, until you've, you know, opened another pill bottle and had hope that maybe this one is going to do something, and then you end up throwing up from that medication or having, you know, another side effect from this, and you're just like, this
Hmm.
is supposed to be helping me, and I'm getting sicker by the minute. And
Yeah.
that's when I got the call that changed my life.
From Larry?
Yep, from my brother Larry. And I knew I
Larry had met me, I believe it was the last week in January of 2024. I can't remember if it was January or February of 2024. We met,
yep.
and he started working on his own health and wellness.
Mm-hmm.
And how soon after that did he reach out to you?
So, if you, some people may not know, but my brother Larry had a heart transplant and has had his own battle with his own health and had his own weight management, you know, challenges. And he had picked up some weight after his heart transplant and was dealing with polycythemia and was having a lot of side effects, you know, just from weight situations and, you know, with the polycythemia. And he went searching, right? He was scouring the internet, saw one of your videos and said, I've tried everything. We've tried everything. I'm going to reach out to this person that says she knows what she's talking about. She's supposed to be. And So he called me about it. I was still working my corporate job, so it was probably
Mhm.
part of May. And I said, well, I guess we'll order it. I don't know what to tell you. But at the time, my husband had just been put on high blood pressure medication.
Okay.
So when that came in the mail, I said, as bad a shape as I'm in, I really feel like that Rick needs to start this first, my husband, and let me try to get him off this high blood pressure medication because it scared me half to death that he
Mhm.
high blood pressure. Rick's about 12 years older than I am, and I'm always worried about the age thing, whatever. But
Mhm.
within about a week, I started noticing a really big difference in the size of his hands because his hands had been puffy and red and like just flushed from high blood pressure. His neck was really flushed. And then kind of the same thing. His neck was returning to his normal color, and I called Larry, and he's like, "You got to get started on it." So I said, "Okay, whatever. I'm too busy. I'll put the order in when I put it in." So he calls me the next day, and he says, "Just get in Rick's box and start on it. You got to start sometime. Just drink one of those teas." And I said, "I'm not drinking. I don't like tea. I'm not drinking it. I don't drink coffee. Not touch tea. Right? That's not my thing."
Mhm.
So he started telling me about all the things that was changing for him, and he never mentioned to me about the weight loss. He never told me that he was losing weight. He never
Mhm.
told me that this was about weight loss. He told me that it was all about inflammation. And so he started explaining to me that Rick has got a lot of inflammation in his body. And I said, well, I wonder if that's what's going on with my neuropathy problem. And he goes, well, sure it is. He said, how do you not know that neuropathy is inflammation? I'm like, I don't understand what you're talking about. And I know a lot of people may think that that sounds crazy, but it's really not. If you're not a
Yeah.
medical professional, you don't understand that neuropathy and restless leg syndrome and diabetes and all of these problems that we have all dealt with our whole lives is stems directly from inflammation. Like,
Yeah.
I was so uneducated, I cannot even tell you. I look back 2 years ago and I'm like, I don't even recognize who that person was because I did not do a good job on educating myself.
And
So,
let me pull that up. Okay. So this is who you were
yep,
2 years ago versus now.
yep. And the crazy part is that picture at 259 pounds was taken at the Ritz in Paris. We were
Wow.
there for our 25-year wedding anniversary trip, and I was literally too fat to even enjoy that trip.
Oh, girl, I guess you got to go back.
I guess I got to go back.
I
But
guess you got to go back. I guess you
yeah,
got to go back. Your results, ma'am, just just incredible. Both of you, honestly.
yes,
That's the difference in inflammation.
yep. And I know for sure that I'm an emotional eater and that I'm a food addict. I've admitted that about myself for a very long time. But the very first place I started after I started the tea and I started recognizing what the tea and the balance was doing for my body,
Hmm.
I started researching food addiction and emotional eating. And when I started educating myself on all three of those things, which was the inflammation, emotional eating, and the food addiction, I immediately started changing everything in my life. The first thing that I changed is I quit my corporate job of 25 years. And
Amazing. I bet that felt good.
I cannot begin to tell you how hard that decision was for me.
Yeah.
But I recognize that I was putting every single thing in my life first and myself last. And I sat down and made a list, and I was, listing out all of my priorities, right? And then I made a list and I said, what are my non negotiables here? Because my corporate job, that's what we lived and breathed on every day is our non negotiables, taking care of customers and all the things that we did, right?
Hmm.
And I thought, I have trained and taught this for 25 years, but I have never trained and taught myself the non negotiables of my life. How did I let that happen?
Yeah.
How did I let it happen that I was at the bottom of that list and that nothing about my life consisted of me planning and taking care of myself?
Health wasn't anywhere on there.
It was, I
Not
mean,
it, not even something you were thinking about.
I
Yeah.
thought because I was going to the doctor and taking the treatments and doing all the things, but I realized I made it their problem and not my problem. What I
Oh,
what I should have done is I should have made it my problem, and then that should have been my resource. So now my non-negotiable is it's my problem, right? Every single
hmm,
day I wake up and I say, God, please, I'm a food addict. I'm leaning on you and I'm asking you for grace and understanding and giving me guidance to help me on this path because I know without him I can't do it. But most importantly is that I stop blaming everyone else because you say this all the time, Dr. Jen, no one's coming.
no one.
No one's coming. Like the
No one's
person
going to
that,
do it for you.
nope.
Nope.
And the person that has to do it, it has to start with me. And once I realized that I'm the one that needs to take the responsibility for myself, I started seeing myself differently. I stopped being so negative in my own head. I stopped making excuses for myself. You know, I stopped the ugliness. I shut the ugly voices down. And even today, I had another little milestone hit that I hit this morning that I've been working toward, and I thought, I wish I could go back and talk to that person from 2 years ago and be a cheerleader, because I needed that at that time.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is that we have to be that for ourselves, and we can't continue to be such a critic. We have so many great coaches and so many great people in our community that are helping each other. And I always make it a point to say to people, I'm praying for you and I'm cheering for you, right?
Oh, I love that.
Because that's exactly what I'm doing. Because I know how hard it is to look in that mirror and not even recognize who you are.
So let's talk for a moment about food and the modern food environment. So I talk about this a lot on my lives, is how people typically eat here in America 3 meals plus snacks.
Right.
Would would you not agree? If
Yeah.
not more,
Right.
if not more. We're eating around 300 grams of carbs or more. Many Americans are. The number of diabetics continues to rise. It's completely out of control. So you yourself, were you also eating this way
Oh, for
before
yeah.
before Larry reached out to you? Yeah.
One of the main things that I would do is I would eat in the car. So part of my job is I would drive from one section of the position to another, and I had 3 minutes in the car, right? So I'd keep
Hmm.
the car and I'd eat a protein bar, I'd eat a cereal bar, or I'd eat, Chex Mix or a bag of nuts, or I had a little cooler and I would just eat a sandwich and I would just eat because I thought I need to eat this now because if I don't, I may not get to eat. Knowing that wasn't true, I was just going to keep eating. That was just my excuse. And
Hmm.
even I turned 50 this year in March, and even at my age, did you know that I did not understand how to read a food label?
Hey, girl, I was 43 before I started reading food labels. Until I dove deep into going on a health journey and realizing my blood pressure problem was my own problem,
Mhm.
my acid reflux issue was my own issue, and the only way what I was going to have to change the way I eat or it was never ever going to get better.
Yeah,
Did I start actually looking at food labels? I had been consuming food for decades without a clue what was in any of it.
same thing. And
Any of it.
I realized that when you're eating food that is not protein and fiber based, you're eating the wrong food. Like it is literally that simple. If you look at a
Hmm.
food label and you see low amounts or zero fiber or low amounts or zero protein, you should not even bring that into your home.
Yeah.
And that was a great place for me to start, was the education of the food labels, and like I said, on the emotional eating and the food addiction. And when I started analyzing what was in our pantry and what was in our refrigerator, I didn't do like the big, dramatic purge like a lot of people do, because I knew my husband wouldn't be okay with that.
Yeah.
But I said to him, let's learn this together and learn what we should be buying when we go. If we're going to have to make a quick stop for food, what are going to be
Hmm.
the best options? Like, let's just start getting smarter about this instead of taking these. Because I knew if we just jumped in and went crazy and did all these things, that we'd both go into burnout like we always do. So we completely did things different. We baby stepped our way into education versus just saying we're fat and we got to get out of this, right?
That I think that's the best way to do it. That's how I did it. When I got the system in my life, I started drinking my tea every morning for breakfast, pushing back my first meal of the day, having my second tea in the afternoon. Now, lunch, when I first started this, before I started, I was going to Culver's most day and getting the butter burger or mushroom and Swiss with the cheese curds and the soda. So I
Wow.
told myself, if I'm spending money on health and wellness, I'm not spending money on soda. I'm not
Mhm.
doing it. There's no
Yeah,
point in it, right? And it's expensive. It's stupid. It's $2.39 for a drink that's garbage. No nutrition.
right.
So I started skipping the cheese curds, skipping the soda, and ate the burger. I drank my beautiful fiber and I ate the burger. And that's how I started.
Hmm.
That's how I started. And like I wanted to get avocados in my life. Didn't like avocados. I knew they were really healthy. So guess what? I was eating chips and guac. That's how I started getting
Yeah,
avocados in my life. And with the help of the tea and the fiber and the fasting, the gut starts to heal, the microbiome starts changing,
yeah,
and your taste buds all of a sudden, avocado sounds good and the french fries don't. It's
right.
wild, isn't it?
It is wild. 'Cause my number one problem was potato chips. And I was no respect of persons. It didn't matter if it was a Dorito, a Grippo, a salt and vinegar, a Cheeto. I, I had all of those in my life. That was my favorite thing because it's what cured nausea. I would eat salt and it would just immediately start calming the nausea down, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was another process. I said, I'm going to have to pray through to let go of potato chips. And everybody in my life said, you are crazy. You've eaten potato chips. That's your favorite thing. You're never going to be able to let that go. And I thought, I am such a food addict that everyone that knows me thinks I'm never going to be able to let this go. And it took me a long time. It took me a good 3 months before I could actually say, I do not wake up every morning dreaming about potato chips.
Isn't
Because
it wild?
yeah, I would keep bags of chips in my car, and after I ate breakfast, I would eat potato chips on the way to work because I thought, if I go ahead and eat these now, maybe I won't get nauseous. Well, what kind of crazy mindset is that?
Hey, girl, I had the same. It's not just you. I had horrible acid reflux for over 20 years. I was on omeprazole. And every single time my stomach would start bothering me, that's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
Bread, carbs, pretzels, bread, chips, anything that was carb, sugar, salt
Hmm.
settles the stomach. And it does.
It
It
does.
does. And it's very short term.
Right.
But it does, and an hour later, it starts to flare up again, and then you need to consume more, and you need to consume. But that's how you stay in that cycle
Yeah,
of
it is.
constantly eating and constantly feeling sick.
Yeah. And when when Rick and I started this too, you know, I know men handle things much easier than what we do. I mean, because our hormones play a big role in how things
Yeah.
go, smooth or not. But I did go through a pretty big transition because I was in ketosis and I didn't know what that was. I didn't realize that my body was fighting me saying, "Where's my sugar? Where's all these carbs? Like, give it to me, give it to me, give it to me." Until I got past that point, and then all of a sudden I was like, why do I not feel sluggish anymore? Like, I slept for 7 hours. I don't think, Dr. Jen, I slept for 7 hours in 10 years, maybe 15 years. I mean, I cannot even tell you, even after maybe 2 weeks, I could tell such a big difference. I'll tell you this one thing that was the craziest thing that happened to me. In about a 2.5 week or 3 week period, I was wearing, I've worn a size 8.5 shoe my entire life. I
Hmm.
was putting shoes on that were all of a sudden too big on my feet. Now, explain that to me.
Inflammation.
I know, but that's what a bad shape that I was in.
Yeah.
And it surprised me. I had to go buy all those little shoe pads for my shoes to put inserts in them because I couldn't even keep shoes on my feet. I mean, we're talking about it was not even a month into this that happened.
And
And
how did it work when you went all in? Like you said, you told Larry you don't drink tea, you don't drink any of that.
yeah,
But you liked the tea?
I love the tea now. But it took my taste buds changing to
Yeah.
get rid of all the sugar because I realized I don't even really know what I liked and what my taste was because all my taste ever got was salt and sugar of processed foods.
Yeah.
So when you spent your whole life just putting trash into it, like you don't even realize that you actually really like a whole lot of other things.
Hmm.
Because what I eat now is not even close to what I've ever eaten in my life. Because now I am such a protein and meat and egg eater. Like I constantly crave protein and eggs.
Me
Like
too.
if we're traveling and I don't get to eat a dozen eggs in a day because I can't get my hands on a dozen eggs, I'm like, what is happening in my life? Where are my eggs?
Isn't it wild? You can
Yes.
go from craving literally bags of chips
Yeah.
to craving 12 eggs a day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
it's incredible and it's amazing. And look what it's done for you. You look
well,
amazing. Girl, you look amazing. I want to pull up this picture of you. Look at you. You're glowing, you're smiling, you're enjoying the sun.
and listen, my skin has changed, my hair has changed, you know, my body has obviously changed
Yeah.
drastically. But one of the main things too is that, you know, when you lose a lot of weight, it scares you that you're going to have a lot of loose skin.
Hmm.
Through this whole process, I kind of kept waiting. I'm like, when is that going to happen to me? But I've been very fortunate because being on a high protein diet and a high fiber diet and working through all the inflammation with the tea, I mean, I can't even begin to tell you how grateful. Like, listen, I still have a few little problem areas here and there.
Hmm.
Even my husband said, your body looks like it did when we met 30 years ago. I'm like, actually, I was kind of heavy during that time. My body didn't even look like this then.
I love that. You look
But,
amazing.
well,
I was
thank you.
so lucky to get to just not long ago get to give you a hug and there's not much of you to hug, girl.
Well, but you know what? My intent was not to shrink my size at this point. Obviously, I wanted to be free from all of the neuropathy and the restless leg and all the things that I've been dealing with.
Hmm.
But the weight loss has just been an added bonus. But
Incredible.
my favorite part of all of this is all of the freedom that I've had to get a good night's sleep, to really be able to say, I do not have neuropathy and restless leg syndrome and pains anymore in my body.
And how long did that take from when you started the system? Did you start seeing results for your pain?
I started seeing results within the first month, but completely free, where I would say, I feel like my body is healed. I was right at month 4 when I was 100% done with it. And I remember calling Larry and saying, I mean, I cried. I couldn't even hardly talk to him on the phone. And I said, I've realized the last couple of days I have not had any neuropathy pain. I've had no numbness. I didn't wake up with restless leg. Because, see, I was having to get up every night and drink pickle juice to try to get relief. And I know everyone thinks that's crazy, but that's what helps restless leg syndrome, right? And I said, I don't need to buy any more pickles because I don't have to get up and drink pickle juice in the middle of the night. And
I
just
love it.
celebrating, what a life change that was for me. And because he's really the one, that listened to me, between him and my husband, listened to me cry and just be in such misery with that all the time.
It's incredible.
It
That's
is.
absolutely incredible. And I know you've had quite the health journey. You've been on a lot of medication. You've
Yeah.
had to take things like steroid medication over the last 2 years that we've known
Yeah.
each other,
Yeah.
which usually and most often causes weight gain.
Yep.
And you haven't seen any of that. You've been able to change your diet and change what you're craving, really,
Yep.
make these amazing lifestyle change. And it's just been absolutely incredible. And then your husband has been joining you.
Yep. He has. He's done really well. He travels a lot for work, and he's in a hotel 250 plus days a year. And the great thing about the tea is I pack it in his bag and pack it in his briefcase, and he's got these 3 little packs a day. He sticks them down in his shirt pocket, and you know his coworkers will say, are you behind on your packs? Because he's still got 3 in there. He'll text me and say I got called out. But it's just really easy. You make all the lifestyle changes that you want to make and you incorporate that in. But I'm just telling you, I would have never dreamt in my life that I would be sitting to where I'm sitting now. I mean,
That's incredible.
I can't thank you enough, because obviously you've changed the life of Larry and I, and Larry's wife Connie, and my husband, and so many people in our family and our church families. I mean, it's just been incredible. But I mean, I don't think we'll ever be able to repay you for all that you've done for us.
Oh, girl, just hearing all that, I tell people all the time, as a pharmacist, you never get to hear, oh my gosh, you made this huge impact in my life and completely changed my health, my wellness, my blood pressure, my you never hear that. I
Right.
literally, on one hand, have I ever had as a pharmacist people come in and be emotional and say that I really did something that really changed their life,
Yeah.
versus now in the last almost 3 years of coaching online, I can't even number the amount of people who have called me, texted me, reached out. It is the most greatest blessing. It helps you get up in the morning. It helps you feel like you have purpose and passion in this life. It's just
Yeah.
incredible. It's
Yeah.
absolutely incredible. And I know that's why you're helping other people with this journey as well.
And that's, to me, you know, I I know so many people that have dealt with neuropathy in their life and have dealt with, some form of arthritis and diabetes, and we all have those people in our lives that are at the point to where they've just thrown their hands up in the air, because that's where I was.
Yeah.
I thought, I cannot do this for one more day. Like every day I would keep saying that. And then a new year would start and I'd say, okay, I'm going to figure this out. But I never figured it out. And I'm just so thankful that I made the decision to get smarter about it and to put myself in the position to be around the right people and to start asking questions. And,
Hmm.
obviously, Larry dug really deep into this, and he still does. Him and I are on the phone every day, like talking about things that we've learned, and how we can help people and make a difference. But the biggest takeaway that I can tell you about this is that you've got to learn how to help yourself.
Yes.
You've got to pinpoint and put pen to paper and say, look, I have these 5 major things going on in my life, and you got to start chipping away at it Everybody I talk to, they're like, I'm going to start that on Monday. I'm like, why? What is Monday? What is going on Monday that everybody's hung up on that, right? Like, how
Hmm.
about you just start today at lunchtime, right? Like, why don't you just start today? Like, say, I'm going to start making better decisions. I'm not going to eat that Snickers bar after I have my dinner tonight. Like, all you have to do is just say to yourself, I'm worth it, and I'm going to start making these little tiny changes. You know,
Hmm.
start cleaning up your snack drawer a little bit. Start planning. That was a big thing for us, is that we had to do a better job of planning. So I was reading recently about people that plan and the amount of time things take. And, this one guy that I was listening to on a podcast said, just set you a timer and see how long it takes you to do a task that you don't like to do. Well, I don't like to cook. Okay. I don't. I'm sorry. I don't like to cook.
Yeah.
I'm not very good at it, so I don't really like to do it. So I thought, okay, I'll buy it. I'm gonna start seeing how long it actually takes me to put a chuck roast in the crock pot. I'm gonna see how long it takes me to do a little meal prep, and do like my little egg bites that I like to make. And embarrassing enough, I realized to even take a frozen chuck roast and put it in a crock pot and dump some bone broth on there takes all of about 6 minutes. Did you know that? That's all it takes.
That's all it takes.
That's all it takes. And when you do a meal prep, it takes about 15 minutes. And then when you go to the grocery store, when you shop on the outside aisles of the grocery store, you can actually make a grocery trip in about 20 minutes.
Yeah, you can get it in and out real quick
Yeah,
when you're not distracted by having to read the 7 million ingredients on the back of a box to figure out whether it's healthy or not, when really
yeah,
in the back of your head, if you've done the research, if it comes in a box, it's just not healthy.
right. And there are times that Rick will say, hey, I would like to have this to eat. Can you figure out what we can do to for me to have that? Sure. So that's again where the planning comes in. We all use AI for everything. Rely on AI. Train your AI tool. You know, we use Claude, I think is his name, and I say to him, we're on a health journey. Store this to your memory. If I want to make this recipe, help me find the highest protein, the highest fiber option on this. And it's from start to finish how to make things from scratch or how to make it easier for you. Like just take just a few minutes to plan. The same thing, that takes about
Hmm.
1 minute to do that, right? So
Yep.
I realized that these 3 minute, 5 minute, 10 minute, 20 minute situations out of my whole day are going to keep me from making bad choices. So
And
every,
let me tell you. Okay, so you're talking about, it takes 6 minutes for the chuck roll, 15 minutes for meal prep for a lot of things.
yeah,
Think about how long you used to drive to somewhere on your lunch hour,
yeah,
to drive to somewhere and wait in the long lunch line,
right,
and then drive back, and then you only have 5 minutes to scarf down your food because you spent 20
yeah,
in the drive-through. If you start adding up that time wasted, it's crazy.
yeah. And you spent $20 on garbage food.
Yep.
Yep,
And you're hungry again in an hour.
yeah. And you're saying, when can somebody go to Starbucks? That was my favorite line, right? Who's going to Starbucks? And even though I didn't drink tea or coffee, I would get those big venti strawberry refreshers. And just when you have a second, look at the sugar content on those. I
Oh
was
my
more
gosh.
sugar in one of those than I should have had in a week, right? But when we know better, we do better. So,
Yes. And
yeah.
knowledge is power. Absolutely, positively. So, the system we've been talking about, just a brief synopsis of what we're diving into, is we've been talking about the Unimate Yerba Mate tea
Mhm.
system, the Feel Great system, which is a tea and fiber protocol, where we drink tea first thing in the morning. It's full of vitamin A, C, E, phosphorus, and magnesium. It's rich with chlorogenic acid, which is actually is a fat burner. And it also, all of these antioxidants help raise the glucagon-like peptide hormone first thing in the morning so that you're not hungry. This allows us to push back our first meal of the day, do some time-based eating, which is what both of us have done to get to our health, our health goals. For me, that meant getting off of 2 blood pressure medication, healing my gut so that I no longer had to take omeprazole. I lost 30 pounds, stopped the hot flashes, no longer have to sleep. I couldn't sleep through the night. Now I do. Very similar story to you.
Mhm.
I was getting up every single night for I don't even know how long. What seemed like forever since I had had a full night of sleep. And now I sleep through the night every single night. And that alone,
Well,
incredible. Worth every penny. Worth every penny, let me tell you. I swapped out the soda, the Starbucks, the foo-foo drinks for tea. I drink it first thing in the morning, like I said, for breakfast, and again between lunch and dinner so that I don't snack in the afternoon. It literally helps you cut those cravings, and it's also a potent anti-inflammatory. So not only is fasting a wonderful way to take down inflammation on the body, less sugar takes down inflammation in the body, less processed food takes down inflammation in the body, but you're also drinking an anti-inflammatory. So it works so many different ways, which is why you got results so quickly, Karen,
yeah,
putting all of that together. And then we have this beautiful prebiotic balance fiber. It's got 7 different forms of viscous fiber that actually coat the gut, bind to the sugar and the carbs in your meal, so your blood sugar spikes less, 43% less, and you get a nice slow blood sugar spike instead of a spike high and low. So what does that mean? Instead of your sugary foods or more carb dense foods lowering your glucagon like peptide hormone, causing a sugar spike and crash, releasing a bunch of insulin, you get this low, slow blood sugar. You get
mhm,
more balanced blood sugar. Less insulin is released, less inflammation impact on the body. It's just an absolute game changer, whether you're diabetic, pre diabetic, or just like me, I was insulin resistant. I was eating every 2 hours, hungry all the time, holding on to an extra 30 pounds, and having that low grade inflammation that caused me to have high blood pressure for over 15 years.
yeah,
And it's simple. It's
very,
simple. It's
yeah,
simple, it's compact packets that you can carry with you. The company itself understands that the modern food environment has been set up to destroy our health. All this processed food, all the drive-through garbage. Guys, if you look at your fruit and vegetables, they don't look the same as they did when we were kids. I
no,
know they don't. Strawberries used to look this big, now they look like this. They're more sugar dense with less fiber. So using this system, we increase the fiber, decrease the inflammation, do some time-based eating, and it's been absolutely incredible for myself, for Karen, for so many of our friends and family. I can't say enough good about it, honestly.
that's
Karen,
that's exactly how I feel. I mean, I feel like that I need to put myself on a billboard and for everyone to know about it. I mean, I
yeah,
feel guilty when people say I've never heard of that. I'm like, I'm about to change your life. Like I'm about to give you your life back. Someone gave
yeah,
me life back by telling me about this, and now I'm about to do that for you.
I
And
love it.
they're like, "Are you crazy?" I'm like, "I might be, but let me show you what 2 years ago looked like."
hmm It's incredible.
Yeah,
Your story is absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for coming on here and sharing it tonight.
thank you for
So,
having me.
yeah. Now, so for anyone listening tonight, if you have one thing to say to someone who's been sitting here and maybe listening to some of these stories and maybe has some of the same issues as you or I, and is not really sure if they should try one more thing, if it's going to be a waste of time or a waste of money, do you have any words of advice you'd give that person?
I do for sure. You know, I think that it's just so hard for us to take the next step on anything because we're afraid, right? We're afraid what people are going to say or what people are going to think, or, maybe we're going to fall off the wagon after a day, like we don't trust ourselves. But just give yourself a little bit of grace and don't beat yourself up so much, because if you just take a few small steps and be proud of those few small steps, and then just take another few small steps and just celebrate to yourself. You don't have to tell anybody what you're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to tell a single person what you're doing, because people are so critical. Well, you've been on Weight Watchers and you've been on all this different stuff. Well, what does it
Yeah.
matter, right? You're the only one that is fighting with your health challenges. So just be very patient with yourself. Start it on your own pace. But once you do start to feel better, say, hey, look, if I'm doing this little bit, if I increase, how I'm
Mm.
helping myself every day through education and doing this program, I'm just telling you, even in a 1 month period, you will not recognize yourself. But you've got to say yes and to get started. I will spend the rest of my life being thankful that Larry found you and that he called and shared this with me. I
Oh, thank you so much.
I will always be grateful.
I absolutely love you guys. I love getting to come down and visit and to see firsthand all of the people that you guys have been able to impact and help and change their story, change their lifestyle. It's been such a blessing. So thank you for having faith in some silly fiber in tea for a girl who didn't drink tea to go all in. And thank
Yeah,
you, Larry, for giving her that push because without you, I wouldn't have been able to do it on my own, right? It came from him.
yeah,
I'm so glad that he had faith in me enough to just give it a try. And for anyone else out there listening, if you have a story similar to Karen, if you're struggling with neuropathy, if you're struggling from food addiction, reach out, chit chat with her, have the conversation. She is there to help. She can give you some great words of advice. She can help push you in the right direction. She can motivate and inspire you. Uh, you're an incredible motivator. And I love how you stick to your guns and you're so all in.
yeah.
And I love that you did it you baby stepped into it.
Hmm.
And look at you now. The
Yeah.
changes in everything, your grocery store budget, where you shop, how you eat, how you feel, how you sleep, literally every aspect of your life.
Everything. Like, not one aspect of my life is the same. It's not.
Incredible.
And the last thing I'll say is that, I was talking to a friend recently and she kept making reference. She's like, Karen, you seem different. You're so different. We haven't seen each other in a while. She lives away. And I said, well, I have a few things to share because she's not a social media person. So she hasn't really even seen, and she said, what? Like, what do you mean? And I said, I have so much peace in my life now that I wish I could go back to my 25-year-old self and give this feeling to her. I just
Oh,
very blessed with the peace.
oh, I love that for you.
Thank
Oh,
you.
I love that. Thank you so much for coming on here. I know it's vulnerable to come on here. You are this beautiful, vivacious 50-year-old woman,
Um,
115 pounds strong, and to go back and show pictures that you don't want to look at. And I know, girl, I'm the same. And mine's only 30 pounds. So I can only manage the
mhm.
vulnerability that you have to
Yeah.
to go out there and say, okay, here's a picture of me where I weighed 144 pounds more than I do today.
Yep.
Thank you for sharing your journey because there's so many people out there who are suffering just the same as you.
Thank you.
So between now and the next time we see you guys, we beg you to be present, powerfully present in your health and wellness, because this is how I end every single one of my lives. No one is going to do it for you. It's not going to be your doctor. It's not going to be your pharmacist. It's not going to be your best friend, Karen, living across the street. She's not going to come over and slap the donut out of your hand, and she's not going to take the Doritos out of your grocery cart, but you absolutely can do it for you. We were able to cut those addictions, cut the inflammation, cut the Starbucks habit. And if we could do it, so can you.
Yep. I agree.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us and have a wonderful